Being lively, being well groomed, and adventurous is undoubtedly a difficult combination to find in one person. When we started looking for someone that we could interview for today, we found one person who's an actor, he's a TV personality, and has been a VJ, and is also most known for participating and winning the game program MTV Roadies. I'm sure you've got the name by now. It is none other than Rannvijay Singh. But there is more to Rannvijay apart from what he does. It is about who he is. And among many other things, he is also a loving father. So let's hear from Rannvijay on fatherhood on this special Father's Day occasion. So, welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays, Rannvijay. It's such a pleasure to have you with us, and really appreciate while you're on a vacation in Italy, you still took time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. It's a pleasure, and I'm very happy because the topic that we're talking on is very close to me.
So, Rannvijay, you won roadies, and you are here in Italy for cycling. You're someone who's perceived for or as a strong personality, somebody who's physically strong. But today, as you said, we're going to be talking about fatherhood, and so let's talk about emotions. Would you like to describe your true feelings after holding your child in your arms for the first time ever?
Um, the I mean, being a tough guy is one thing, and I think the activities and the way you the kind of things that you want to do in your life and the experiences that you have from being in a boarding school or being an army officer's son give you a, I would say, an outlook of life that is perceived as, oh, this is a tough guy, and which means I'm physically tough because I've done tough things, or I continue to do adventurous things. But that doesn't say at all that a tough guy cannot be emotional or you know uh, sentimental or loving. So these are two different things, and I think I'm actually one of the most emotional guys, and anybody from my family would testify to that. As a son, as a brother, as a husband, everything. I'm very emotional as a friend, and that's got nothing to do with being a tough guy. When I was when we were having the baby, the it, everybody, including me, when we were having a discussion, how does it feel you're going to be a father? How does it feel you're going to be a father? And for me, it was not like, oh, I have to be responsible now. I have to do this thing now. I have to change myself. No, I've always been. I'm the eldest in my family from both sides. I've got 10, 12 cousins. I'm very. I'm an elder brother situation. So I was very happy. I wasn't worried about. But when I held my kid, and I this is my theory is that I'm a softer dad because the firstborn was a baby girl. So my older one is a my daughter is now going to be she's 6.5. And if the first one was a son, I'd be a little tougher physically, like a tougher dad, do this, do that. But I think she just softened me up as a dad. So and now the younger one is gonna be 2 in July, and he just gets like a teddy bear for a dad because of my daughter. When I held Kai for the first time, I felt amazing because it's something that just blew my mind as a miracle. Because I was in the OT, I saw my wife, and it's just like this thing came out of my wife, and I was like, I can't believe that this everything like these fingernails and these things have been made inside the body. Like, how did you make everything so well and perfect? So that day, I felt for my kid a lot, but it's actually you think you love your kid a lot on the day that it's born. Oh wow, this is mine, it's ours, but it's not true because that's the day when you see your kid, then you start taking care of the kid, and then the kid starts reciprocating. And after 3 months, you're like, oh, I love this kid a lot more. And then 6 months later, oh my God, I really like that. I can do anything. The relationship, the way the kid reciprocates to you without any agenda, clinging to you, just loving you for just like natural causes of you being the parent, makes you realize that when you say unconditional love, it's only after you have a baby and you've had a relationship with a baby, a child, that you realize what unconditional love is. Uh, आप बोलते हो यार मैं अपने दोस्त के लिए जान दे दूंगा, but you've never been put in that situation until unless you're an officer or or in the police or something where you actually put your life in front of your partner or your or somebody, right, or your fellow soldier. But not a lot of people get that opportunity, and I don't think if push comes to shove, they. But when it comes to your kid, I would actually take a bullet for my kid, and it's no like it's not. I would jump in front of a bus if it's between her and me or her and it's only after you have a relationship because that love is just it is like without agenda. In today's day and age, if you get somebody who loves you for just um, pure reasons, it's very difficult to get because everybody's got agenda. So then you realize that, oh man, my parents also love me without agenda. Oh, interesting. Oh, my friends who were there with me when we were 9, 10, 11, 12 boarding school guys, we just loved each other without acha tu kaisa hai, okay. You know, it was not like what are you going to become, who are you going to be, are you going to be so then you start valuing true love a lot more. So that day when I held my kid, I was like just amazed at the miracle. But the relationship, once you have a relationship, that love just keeps growing, and you realize, like, today I love my kid way more than that day. It's crazy. And yeah, so that's my theory on it. Because once that love starts coming back as a human being, because you're selfish, once you get things, you appreciate them even more, right? When once your grandparents are just disciplining you, you're like, "Arey, bade papa, bade matlab strict hai." Once they start giving you things, you're like, "Wow, I love them so much." So it's that.
I can completely relate to this. मेरे और मेरे बेटे के भी, I have a 11-year-old son, and
Oh, wow.
the only game हम आपस में खेलते हैं is talking about whether he loves me more than I do or whether I love him more. And that competition goes unending. So I can completely relate to what you're saying, that जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते हैं वो प्यार खींचते हैं, और you know मजे की बात यह है कि वो प्यार दे के प्यार खींचते हैं.
Yeah.
So since we are talking of this, what is usually termed between parents and children, the unconditional love, what does it mean to be a father? What do you think, apart from love, क्या responsibilities, क्या important चीजें आपके दिमाग में आती हैं that, this is what I want to do for my child?
Today's day and age, right? I don't think there's only one single way of being a parent, right? There are lots of pressures, which when I hear my grandparents or my dad and mom, it was simpler. It was simpler you just knew because there are not too many things. It wasn't so complicated. You just have to take care of your kids, man. You got to be around, blah, blah, blah. It was just there. I saw my parents. I was growing up in the army and how they had other friends, and we would always just keep learning things because they in their life on Sundays the whole unit is going for a trek. In the evenings they're playing sports, so you're playing sports. You're going to obstacle course. You're doing obstacle course. Everything was just happening by default. You're just learning life lessons every day. If your parents have to by chance go somewhere for 2 3 days, they're leaving you with army officers. These guys are trained to serve the nation or trained to like survive in any this thing. Those guys are teaching you knots and how to in the night how to pitch a tent and all that. The quality of parenting that we got by default of simpler times or because we were brought up in the army was just unreal. So for me to replicate that, it's a lot of effort because I got to be around my kids while they're cycling. I got to cycle with them. I got to teach them how to cycle. But for that, I got to be around to cycle with them. I got to latko on these bars and just do monkey business, and then they just like sponges just replicate me. You can't be like, hey, you should read books and never pick up a book in front of your kid. So don't expect things out of your kid that you're not doing in front of them. I love my parents. They see that they're going to love me, right? So all of this is that most of it is leading by example. I want my kids to be good human beings. In order for that, I have to be around. And that's where the complication is. When you're traveling and you're doing work, everything on my mind. My mind is only thinking about my kids and how I have to provide and how to make sure that every time I'm cycling, I'm going up a mountain, I'm like, dude, I wish I was doing this with them. Then I'm asking these professional guys that when is it okay, when is it safe, this is road climbing. My kids will be 10, 12, 16. Every experience that I'm having, like, I want to have this with my kids. I go to a jungle, I'm like, oh, imagine if I was here with Kai. And so I think all my conscious living, they're part of every thought of my life. I just want to, I'm learning something new. I was at a fort. I was like, I wish they were here. I'm going to go tell them, but it would be better if I bring them. So it's just being a father, being a parent means that your conscious being is just in unison with your kids. You're just thinking about them all the time. Like everything I do, even if I'm doing a project which is giving me happiness, but I'm like this when they see or the resources that I'm getting from them, I need to provide and just give them exposure and confidence and make them capable human beings. I don't want to give them. My intention is not like make a lot of wealth for them or it's not that. It's like make them capable. Like my parents just made me capable, and just if they're capable, they would not need one single rupee from me. If they're not capable, one, I failed as a parent. Two, then it's like as much as you make is not enough.
So, Ranvijay, what I hear is that you want to do things, with your children. Now, the challenge with us who are not in the army, where you are part of the ecosystem, is that we need to consciously make an effort. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that we have less of is time. You know, children are doing school, we are out for work. How do you, as a father, balance work and family life effectively so that you can add value to their lives?
Uh, I have so last 2 years consciously I only work 15 days a month. And the 15 days that I don't work, I'm 100% with my kids. Now, it because my work is away from them, it's in what happens is that I kind of pound the work days a lot. Like I'm gone for like 3, 4 days or 5 days or 6 days maximum away from my kids, but I'm doing 2 to 3 things a day. When I'm doing a press conference, traveling to 2 cities, shooting something, and all of that. So it really like when you talk about well-being, I feel like those are the days where I got to figure out a little more. I need to find balance there because I am very greedy uh, about the time that I'm going to be with my kids. So I'm doing like 3 o'clock night flights from Bombay to Dubai, being there by 7, seeing my daughter off to school, then playing with the little one. Then when he sleeps at 1, I nap with him till 3:30. Then I get up, the elder one's back. Then we go for a swimming lesson or whatever, rock climbing, or whatever those activities that you do. Then we take the other one for a walk and a run. Then when both of them are eating their own dinners, respective dinners, is when I get time 1 hour for myself where I can play basketball or cycle. Then I put one of them to sleep, the other one depending on whose turn it is, and then I get time with me and my wife. We have a dinner, or we go out, or we go for a walk, or we do something, or we go for a movie, or we watch something. It is a conscious effort, and I've taken a big step in because what happens I've seen, and I don't know whether it's right or wrong. A lot of people get up in the morning, kids are going to school or they go to work, they come back at 8, 7:38, kids are sleeping. The only 2 days that they get are Saturday, Sundays, and but they're around every day just in case something goes down. Whereas I'm there for 15 straight days, but there are 15 days which are like 3 days here, 4 days there, 3 days that I'm not around my kids and I'm working. And I try to overcompensate on the days that I'm there. I do everything there. So I don't know if, but right now this is what I'm trying to do. But this is my goal is not to get a certain kind of project or to have 100 crore, 200 crore film or this show or that show. My goal is to be around my kids as because this is the next 10, 12 years that they're with us. They're ours. Then they will be maybe a, you lose them to a sport or to a passion to cooking to music to traveling to some form of education or girlfriend boyfriend. It could be anything. You just like at 12, 14, 15, you'll see very soon. um, so if I could inculcate some habits in them that require me to be around, if they become basketball players, they can play basketball with me. So by default, I'm part of their life. If they love trekking and stuff like that, and I've introduced it to them, then by default, a couple of times a year, they'll be like, okay, we're going trekking with my dad or mine. It sucks, but do you want to come? They'll tell their friends. Maybe I'll take their friends with me. So I'm trying to do that so that for the rest of my life, somewhere they have to just gravitate back because of these interests that have percolated down from me to them. Like my dad, he loved playing sports, and most of the sports that he played, I just picked it up. Looking at me, my brother picked it up. So now we play basketball together, but we also talk about NBA games. The finals are going on. Me and Harman just had a chat in the morning saying, "Did you see this? Did you see that? Okay, who are you going for?" So we spend more time talking to each other, and I think our parents just did a wonderful job, but not conscious. I think it was just in them, or maybe they did it consciously. Kudos to them, but well, I'm just trying to like replicate that. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it, and but it's never enough. It's never enough. I wish I was working. My work was such that I could just see them every day and still have time. But वो नहीं होता है. So
फिर भी
that's
you're
it.
making conscious efforts to make yourself
Yeah,
available whenever you can. Uh, yeah, go ahead. You were saying something.
because
You're about to say
I'm
something.
I'm fairly young. I'm a young dad. I'm 40 years old. My kid is 6. I mean, it's not very young. But for the next 10, 12, 14 years, if which is I'll be 54, fairly young. If I just dedicate this time to my kids, I can always like dial it up in my work and my passions later also. So all I got to do is keep myself fit and active and mentally healthy, so that there's a balance of all of this we can do together, and I can do a little bit of this and that and just keep myself relevant. And eventually, when they are busy doing their things, me and my wife or whatever friends, we can continue to do all the other things. But if a lot of people are working a lot till their 40s, mid until their 50s, and the kids grow up.
Mhm.
And I don't want to do the same mistake by listening to other people. You'll always listen to other people's podcasts and they're reading their books and all of that. And everybody says that when they were young, I wish I had more time. Because you're going to be successful. And even if you're like, I mean, थोड़ा थोड़ा इधर से ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता है if you have the time with your kids. Yeah, but it's still like my wife wouldn't, when I'm saying, or when she sees this, she'll be like, I wish there was more. I wish you were there every day. So yeah.
And Ranvijay, they say that a woman goes through a lot of changes during the pregnancy, 9 months of being there. But does a father or a man also undergo evolution over a period of time? What are your thoughts on this? I mean, we changed. I mean, we were a different personality while we were in college, but with with passage of time, we have evolved.
Yeah, but that's not because we were kids. There are a lot of guys that I know who were in college, who were young, and who don't have kids and are 40, 45, they're different. Time, you evolve because of time, and you evolve because of responsibilities. Both are not connected. Some of us have evolved to being a certain kind of person because of time and because of our responsibilities. These responsibilities could have been of our parents. I know I'm privileged enough to not. I don't have to take care of my parents. They took care of themselves. My grandparents took care of themselves. They're physically able, financially independent. But I know my friends who, when we started at 21, 22, started wearing jobs and all, they were taking care of their parents. So their evolution was different from mine. While I'm jumping off buildings and stuff like that and doing my job is different, but they also have to. That happens with people. It's an independent kind of graph for everybody. That's what I feel. It's not like, oh, you are so mature because you have a son or because you're father, or you're so mature because you're just 45. It's the life experiences. So I really truly think that, and I know a lot of guys who are fathers and still immature, right?
Mhm.
So it's not being a father or being a mother that teaches you to be responsible. It could be many reasons. Like people take care of their grandparents. People have seen family members go through illnesses and stuff like that at a young age, and they become responsible, or evolution happens in them. I feel in my case, I was somebody who's really driven by opportunities and by exposure, and oh, I'm getting an opportunity to be there, I'll be there. Oh, I can be in Brazil, I'll be there. I'll just say yes to everything. So until the time I met my wife, for the first 10, 12 years of my profession, I had not one single day free. And even if they were free, I was doing experiences, and I was just like Okay, I'm free for 15 days. I'll call my friends. Chalo, ek bike ride pe chalte hain. Let's go to Leh and all that. Let's go for this basketball tournament, this and that. I kept doing things. Now, the change in me is that I just want to be around my kids. I just want to be home, or I want to be with them doing something. And they could be the same activities, but I want to do it with them. The other change is that, okay, if I could get my parents and my kids together to do things. So I'm like, okay, December, January, February, parents, please come. I was just talking to my grandparents also. Please come and stay with us so that we get up in the morning, we have cha, we have parathe, upon we put one of us takes the kids to a walk or some activity. Then again we're together. I just really so that is the evolution in my understanding. I just want to be around family because there's so many good things that you keep learning just by being around parents and grandparents. That these are actually life lessons that I've seen that companies are doing these conferences and talking to each other, team building and this trust and that trust. You're if you're around your parents, if you're secure, just having a normal kid out there, a normal person. You meet so many people when you're shooting on who's just in the middle, not too right, not too left, not racist, not classist, just okay, go with the flow, not like I want to just eat this, not just normal kids, just to bring them up. It's a task just to have them alive at a certain age. You brought your so so it just it's I think it's an everyday thing, and the main evolution is between a husband and a wife when you have kids because I'm a traveler, right? My work is traveling. Now, how is my wife enabling me? She's enabling me to do this, to be myself. Whether it's for, oh, I'm going to bring like food to the table or resources and all is a different thing. But the enabling is not is happening by my wife. Okay, you go do your thing, come back, And there are problems. Now, how do you solve that? Because there's a lot of resentment between parents when one is doing a lot of daily chores and the others coming in and being the hero parent. Because as soon as you see me, as soon as my kids see me, they're just like all over because they haven't had me for 5, 6 days. That doesn't mean that I'm the better and the favorite parent. It's just that, dude, kids miss you, right? And understanding that is the real challenge. The evolution happens there where you and your wife are like, you're like, okay, you need some time off, and that's the balance that I'm trying to. We're young parents, that's a battle, uphill climb, and yeah. So I think the evolution is how you become more patient and more understanding about the other person, what that other person's going through, and bringing up your kids while you're not around,
Mhm.
and and it's a learning curve. I see my parents go through it even now, like in their 60s, they're like trying to figure out how to maneuver through me and my brother and having more time with us, how they can come to us, how they can also spend time with their grandchildren, and then also be there for their own parents.
Mhm.
It's an ongoing process, and I'm enjoying this bit, and I'm trying to grasp whatever I can from the older generations and hopefully pass it down.
Right. You know, being a celebrity, somebody who's a recognizable face, uh, and you have people who are trying to reach out to you, media, paparazzi, and all. Do you ever get concerned about the children's safety and security at any time? Does it really create some kind of an issue?
Safety and security, no, not at all. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
As a parent, if this was 200 years ago, you think my children were more safe and secure? I have to fend them off barbarians and people who are coming to conquer our land. As I'm a Sikh and I'm a warrior, so now I don't have to fight for my kids. I don't have to pick up the sword and like be vigilant in the night. People take this life, which is easy, soft life. They take it for granted. Okay, it's my duty to protect my kids if they were under any kind of safety risk. And as a parent, if you're asked to do your duty, you shouldn't be like, oh, so am I concerned for their well-being? Yes, every time they're slipping around the house on the marble floor and I'm wet, I'm like, oh, sar mat phudwa lena. Of course. But this is a very safe life.
Okay.
What do I do? What am I concerned of about more than the safety and all? Is the effect of this hoopla around them. They start feeling like they're important, which they're not. They're only important to me and my wife. and to my parents and to the family. They're not important. They haven't achieved anything to have somebody following them around. They haven't achieved anything to have this luxury that we are providing. Nothing. Don't take that for granted. That is my scare. My scare is not if somebody dare bloody touch them. That's my job. I'll do that. It's not. It's right. Um, I'm scared of how they will perceive that things are easy. How they will be like, oh, driver drives the car. We just have to sit in it. Oh, you just get food because you order in a restaurant. And oh, you're somebody special because you're just born. So no, they don't live in India. They don't have people taking photographs of them all the time. All the photos that you see of them and us is us taking it and expressing who we are through our social media. Yes, and we travel, but they're not in a place where their father is driving their car. Sometimes as a driver, we pick up all the cycles and everything from the back of the car into the beach or to the cycling track. We're doing all our things together. They're in a place where not a lot of people are running up to us to say, hey, this and that. So we're taking them away so that they're normal. And I play and I cycle myself. There's not a spot boy cycling for me or a stand-in or a action or a duplicate is not there for me. So they gotta see that as normal and then become I'm very scared of them thinking that they're entitled to things. My worry is that I don't think they should feel entitled to what I have done, what my wife's done, what my parents have done, what their grandparents are. They should just be secure and confident about who they are. They don't have to achieve more or less than anybody. Just be happy, be good human beings, and not be entitled.
That's an amazing message that you've given for every father. Ranvijay, fathers have to manage stress because they're going out and working. They want to be around the children. They have to manage their parents. They have a spouse who needs their attention. There can be stresses and sometimes even a burnout. Do you use any mindfulness or relaxation techniques that has helped you?
Um, I again by default have been blessed with these techniques. Uh, I feel like everybody goes through stress, especially mothers more than the fathers, especially like a homemaker like my wife. She doesn't get a time out. She doesn't get time for herself. Whereas I get this part of my work. I'm actually working, we're documenting this cycling series. This is de-stressing me while I'm also earning bread, right? So I can very well say I'm working, but it is de-stressing me. This is something that I've built over 20 years of my career. Uh, I've worked towards having a life like this where the balance between my mental health and my stress gets kind of taken care of by the work time. So even those days that are pounded by work, I still get these, oh, I'm riding to a place, or I'm in old gym opening, so I'm working out there, for example, right? But this is I play basketball, which is very good for my mental health. I come back a better person every time I go play ultimate frisbee or I do anything like this. I'm more patient because I've had my that happiness, that satisfaction. You got to do something for yourself, and I am again like saying that most important of this stress is the what I feel as fathers that you can feel, especially me, is the guilt stress, the guilt of not being around every day. I feel it. I feel bad that I'm not there every day, and the communication between me and my wife is important. If that is good, then I can come back and like be the champion for the next 7 8 days before I go again. But if there is problem there, there's no stress. As soon as so that it's physical, then it's physical labor. We just get back home, get up in the morning, drop, pick, do. It's physically daunting, but you can take it because mentally you're happy, right?
Right.
So for me, that works.
Since you mentioned communication between you and your wife, many a times what I have seen personally around me is that most men do not communicate or keep quiet about the challenges that they may be facing at work. They feel that it's
Mm.
just going to add stress to somebody else's life. What do you think about it? What is the right thing to do?
Sharing is very important because a lot of times I've seen other fathers that they go through this stress. They also go out, also get blamed for not being around. and you turn around and say, but ये मैं सब कुछ अपने लिए तो कर रहा हूँ, family के लिए तो कर रहा हूँ. And they're like, उस चीज का फायदा क्या है? They get like almost, what is the reason of इतना काम करने का फायदा क्या if you're not going to be around? That, like, it takes you down. It's the worst because every time you're working, you're only thinking about the family and better times for the family, and then you get kind of called out for not being around, and it's just a vicious circle. So if the communication is right, because the kids don't know anything, right? They're only going to get what they can see at the parents or the. So if the communication is good with the wife, if you are vulnerable with your wife or your partner, and they know what's going on, at least they will have a chance to understand. You're not giving the other person an opportunity to understand. That's wrong on your part. If you share and the other person's not there and not doing it and understand, then at least you've done your part. But you're not giving another person an opportunity to understand what you're going through is not fair. And you got to do it for yourself, because once it bottles up, it is going to, the question when you started was like, burnout kya hota hai? Why would a person burn out? Why would they feel stressed? It's because you got to keep it balanced. When you work a lot, then you take some time off, or you work in the morning, you take some time off, you play with your kids. Playing with your kids, getting a hug, getting kisses, just like releases like pressure. But if you talk to your wife, and she knows, oh man, we're going through some crunch, financial crunch, or maybe this project or this, that job, at least she's with you in that. And that's why you also believe that you're with her in that. So you got to be together in raising a family. You got to be together in bringing stuff to the table. Like people, like husband and wives who work, both of them work. Can you imagine how difficult it is for the wife and the husband to also take care of the kids and their own careers and be there for each other and all that? So it I think boils down to communication, even parenting.
So, how do you think a father can communicate emotions effectively? कई बार हम दिखा नहीं पाते हैं, हम हमारे अंदर बहुत कुछ होता है, हम बहुत कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं, हम बोल नहीं पाते हैं.
These are complicated times, but they're more accepting times. You know, back in the day when dad's a colonel, or I'm just saying 90s also, if fathers were in, they were supposed to be disciplinaries. Now they're very accepting times. The father is like crying also, and the father is loving and kissing their kids, and it's cute, it's appreciated. So in today's time when they're accepting times, I don't think there's a barrier that a man has to go through saying, oh, yeah, I'm tough, I can't show emotions. Those are passe, man, and they're not going to help anybody. If you're tough, you're tough. I'm tough, but I kiss my kids all the time. I hug my kids. I hug and kiss my parents. My dad, as a colonel in the army or whatever, man, he always hugged us. He hugged us. He made us feel loved. And there's always discipline, man. When you say you gotta do this, you gotta do this, that doesn't mean that the guy loves you less. Like, I never questioned that. And he was strict. My mom was stricter than him. But I never felt like they don't love us. Of course, there are times when you're like, you don't love me if I don't go for this school trip with my friends and all that. Yeah, those are like, but I want my kids to know that, hey, man, when I say this gotta be done. It's gotta be done. When mama says this, it's gotta be done. Do they question? Will they have a question that I don't love them? No. So I go, I sleep next to them, put them to sleep, wake them up with kisses and hugs. They give a. I think you got to be affectionate, man. You got to show the affection as a human being. Today is the easiest time. If you're an affectionate guy, you're appreciated. 15 years ago, you'd be like, hey, solid. So, we're in easier times, complicated, but easier, right? So, take advantage of that, guys. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of the fact that if you're vulnerable, if you show your emotions, only the narrow-minded people would be laughing at you. And eventually at home when they go, they'd like to want to be like you. That's what I gather from my experiences. People see my videos with my kids when I'm doing different things with them, and they're like, I know that there are wives who are going to their husbands and showing the videos and saying, I'm okay if you're like this. Doesn't matter. You can hug and kiss your kids.
Right.
And me, you know.
Of course.
Affection is good, yeah.
Yes, yes. Ranvijay, we've seen a lot of moms groups on social networks. You have so many of them. But you
Yeah.
rarely come across anything which is a group for fathers. If you look at India specifically, you have these WhatsApp groups of parents of children in the school or in the class, right? But it's very, you'll rarely find one out of that 40 names
Can
of
I
father.
can I tell you, like
Yeah.
in my wife's case, I'm very pro mothers, by the way. So I'm never, you will never catch me saying something against mothers ऐसी हैं और हम fathers को कोई specialty नहीं मिलती. You know why we don't have those groups?
Yep. Right.
Because we're not coordinating our kids' play dates. We're not coordinating what time where. Those groups are like, okay, what is your kid going to eat? Allergy hai, nahi hai. Oh, we are peanuts. Okay, we are making this. Will you be okay if we feed your kid this and that? Men are not capable of that, man.
Yep.
So let's not feel sorry. Oh, we don't have groups. तुम्हारे में टाइम और एफर्ट डालो तो हो जाएगा ग्रुप. कौन बना कर रहा है? बाकी सब चीजों के लिए तो है तुम्हारे फुटबॉल ग्रुप, दारू ग्रुप. All of those groups are there. Who's stopping you? Because you're not taking the responsibility up. And I know me and 7 other guys who have kids who want to go cycling together or want to go to the beach together. We have a small group
Right.
because we know for the beach thing, okay, yaar, you'll get the towels, I'll get this, I'll get the water and everything. It takes a lot of effort. Those mom groups are being there for each other. What do you feed your kid after the seventh day? Kids are bored. They throw the freaking food outside.
Yeah.
मैंने खाना है दाल चावल spaghetti. What are you going to cook? So you ask your friends, what are you cooking? I don't want to give this. Oh, mine's like lactose intolerant. Acha, why don't you make it with this? And those chats take effort. Oh my God. My wife tells me, okay, Sunday we're going with these 3 people, those kids, this thing, and we're going to go to say Legoland. मेरे को जरा वहां पर लेगोलैंड में गाड़ी लेना है और टिकट लेना है. वो those chats, 50 messages. Are you free? What time to what time should we go? Okay, this thing we'll go. We'll take 2 cars, 3 cars. Those WhatsApp chats take effort. So as a father, if you don't have a group, you're not taking that effort. It's you can't look at. I do not look at myself or any father or any human being from the outside. कि, अरे मेरे साथ ऐसा हो रहा है. From the inside, क्यों नहीं हो रहा? You cannot always be a victim. You have to question why. Why don't I have a group? Because I don't have the bloody patience. I don't have the. It takes effort, sir. Just look at those mother groups when they're chatting with each other. I'll pick him up. I'll drop your kid. I'll do this. What are they wearing? Oh, birthday. What did you do for the birthday? Who did you call? Who were the caterers? Cake किसने बनाया? अपने पास है इतना patience. और जो हम में से है fathers जिनमें है उनके groups हैं.
And but support groups जो उनसे हैं online, social media पे. Do you think fathers also need support groups for like-minded
Of course.
conversations around that?
Of course, and there are a few you can reach out, and there are a few because revolutions don't happen overnight. You know, we expect everything for everything all the time. There is not equality for pay in women, but we're fighting for it. तो हो जाएगा धीरे धीरे. We're trying now. Women's IPL now has better viewing than before, right? It's not happened over 1 week. So even fathers, chill. You'll get your support groups. It won't happen over a day. So, but the ones that are there, support them. The ones who are reaching out, reach out to your friends. Don't wait for a support group. You know, I know my dad's a great dad. I would like my friends to talk to my dad sometimes. So I can say, hey man, you're suffering through some parental this thing. मेरे dad से बात कर ले यार. He doesn't run a group, but at least I know he's been there for me. Now I see mental health issues and all with other guys, and I'm like, dude, your dad was abusive and he used to abuse alcohol or this and that. I look at my dad, I'm one more like shit. At least he didn't do that. You know, a lot of things that my dad didn't do, we took for granted. So maybe think of it like that. Always glass is half full. So so if there is not a proper registered group of come dads, you know, and anonymous or whatever meet, but we could do it. I could reach out to you one day. You could reach out to me, hey man, if there are any guys who are struggling through this, your friends, you know, I can talk. So the start has to happen from ourselves. अपने साथ होना चाहिए और ये आगे बढ़ता ही रहेगा. Because if we are having a conversation about this today for the first time, it's growth from the last time.
Yes,
That means times
absolutely.
are changing, which means somebody will listen to this. 2 people, 5 people, 100. They will talk about it. यार ये parents, fathers also should have groups. तू बता तेरे को प्रॉब्लम. हाँ यार मेरा बहुत बोलता है यार, बोलता रहता था ऐसा कर ये कर. It will start a conversation. So what we're doing is important, talking about it, and this will lead to things changing.
So Ranvijay, this actually brings me to a very important question. That बहुत सारे challenges होते हैं हमारे पास, and sometimes, I'm taking a cue from your last answer where you spoke about alcohol or being abusive. Many a times, and this is not just fathers, this is general human thing. Many a times we do not look at our problems or the problems that we are creating. We don't recognize those as problems. What do you think could be the warning signs of mental health issues that every father should cautiously look out for, that I hope I'm not creating this challenge for my family? And what do you think are the challenges that family can face uh, if the father is going through certain challenges?
No, if the head of the family, mother or father, whoever the head of the family is, or the bread earner, if you see them struggling, it changes the morale of the house. I think a lot of it boils down to the kind of partner you have, the kind of support you have, husband or wife, mother or father. Because together, if the two of you are in on it together, a lot of the hardships don't even come in front of the kids. You protect them from that to give them normalcy at home. You so I believe in siblings a lot. So I feel like I've seen that with my dads, my mums, masis, all of them. They just go to each other a lot when they're struggling. You know, I would say invest in the relationship with your siblings. I would say invest in relationship with your good friends, but because by now, sometimes siblings are not the answer because you don't choose your family, right? But you choose your friends. So those friends, like I talk to a couple of my friends when I'm struggling with some things at home, and I'm like, dude, and then they put it into perspective for you. If you surround yourself with people who are not yes sir guys, and especially with celebrities, it happens a lot. And somebody who can tell you when you're wrong, or no, maybe you should understand her point, or maybe you should see that your kids don't. When you hit with truth bombs, and you have to surround yourself with people like that, is when you can make a difference. But if you are in your own la la land where you think you are not, तुम तो कुछ गलत करते ही नहीं हो और सब गलती किसी और की है, तब उसमें बहुत see a lot of this actually boils down to what your intention is. If your intention is not there to be these are standards that you and I have just set up for ourselves. What if this is not somebody else's standard? And if we judge them on that, then we are also wrong. सबके अपने अपने आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि आपको अपने 11 साल के लड़के के साथ कैसे बिहेव करना है. मेरे को करता है ऐसा है. अब किसी को इसके साथ ऐसा करना है, ग्रेट. किसी को नहीं करना है. As soon as we judge them, we are also wrong. So first of all, the intention should be there that the guy wants to recognize this and change it. What if he says, नहीं मुझे तो ऐसे ही जीना है यार, और मुझे ऐसे ही करना है, and that's why human beings are so different. I mean, the biggest sign would be if your partner can, I mean, say stuff to you, and if you have open communication where she's like, dude, this is affecting our life. You're spending, I mean, and if your friends can tell you, if your parents can tell you, but you have to be receptive. Being receptive is, you have to really work on it. And that's something that I'm doing in my life also, right? If my friends or my dad or my mom or my wife or somebody tells me, yeah, dude, I think this thoda zyada ho gaya. Maybe don't jump out. Maybe every time you take a risk, people are not sleeping at home when you're jumping off a cliff. Oh, is it affecting everybody around me that much when I'm on a bike? Okay, how do I make them feel secure? Can I do something to make it better? Can I tell them that, hey, look at what I'm wearing, look at how I'm driving? Can I give them confidence in the kind of things that I'm doing so that they are at ease? Because it's not okay for you to engage all these relationships and then wreak havoc in their lives, yeah, by just being on one wheel and jumping over a cliff and maybe today dying or tomorrow. Like you can't have parents and kids just live like that. So I'm dealing with that kind of situation.
Great. Ranvijay, this has been an amazing conversation. But before I let you go, there should be two
I'll show you
messages.
something.
Yeah.
Give me a second. So all my cycling gear is here. Some of it because we're also bike packing. This is a helmet,
Right? Oh,
and
nice.
so all my helmet on the right side
Oh,
is my
this is
daughter's
your
name,
daughter's name.
Kainat,
Lovely.
and on the left is Jahan.
Jahan. Oh,
They're
lovely.
always on my mind, and I represent like. And on my bike, I have my dad and mom's name on the handle because they've always held my hand, and I need them to go up these freaking hills. And when you're actually climbing, you really like you actually don't see anything on top because the hill is like that. You actually put if you see cyclists, you put your head down and
Yes.
you're cycling. And when I put my head down, I've written my wife's name, Priyanka's name, because through thick and thin and through the toughest times in her life, I need her. And for all the best rides of my life, because when I was dreaming to grow up and have motorcycles and this and that, and we'll go here and we'll go to NBA games, it was my brother. So just on the main frame where it's needed when you go like for all the rides, I have Harman's name written because so I feel like as a father, these guys are on my head all the time. That just I'm only thinking about them, how I could do this with them, and not always. And family is important. And if my parents were good parents, that's the reason I want to be a good parent, right? So it's a lot, and it's a lot of it's not just me and my wife. It's a lot that's been given to us by our parents, and I'm very grateful, and that's what my kids are getting. A bit of my parents, a bit of my grandparents, a bit of me, and their kids will get a bit of me, my parents, and all of that, and my in-laws and all that. And we're just blessed. We should all count our and the good and bad peas everywhere, right? The good and bad apples everywhere. But whatever good is there, le lo aur aage de do.
That's a beautiful message. रणविजय मैं आपसे बोलने वाला था कि is there a message for the fathers? And I think I've already got the answer. I think I've
Awesome.
already got the answer. This is so beautiful, and I think this is going to remain with me for the rest of my life at least.
So
So
sweet. So sweet.
that's such a pleasure speaking to you, Rannvijay.
Likewise, sir. Happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day.
And give a japki to your son from my side.